The beast had never bowed to anyone, not even to me. Shadow was a warhound, massive, black as midnight, bred from ancient bloodlines for one purpose: to kill. He had torn through enemy lines, brought down armed men, defended my life in a dozen battles, but he had never submitted, never yielded, until the day I brought home the healer. She walked into my hall, small, quiet, unremarkable in every way. Shadow took one look at her, and dropped to the ground at her feet, head bowed, throat exposed, complete, total submission. In that moment I understood. The prophecy was real, and she was the one. The prophecy. My name is Kale Stormborn, Alpha King of the Northern Territories. I inherited the crown at 20, along with a war, a fractured kingdom, and a prophecy I did not believe. The seers had spoken it for generations. When the beast bows to the blessed, the kingdom will know peace. Cryptic nonsense, like all prophecies. But my mother had believed, had raised Shadow from a pup with the understanding that he would one day recognize the Blessed One, the woman who would bring peace to our kingdom. I thought it was legend, wishful thinking. Shadow was a weapon, nothing more. He obeyed commands, fought when ordered, but he never submitted, never softened. He tolerated me because I fed him, trained him, fought beside him. But love? Devotion? Shadow had none to give, until her. 3 days earlier, the border skirmish was supposed to be minor. Raiders from the east, small band, easy to rout. But they had poisoned blades. 3 of my men went down, thrashing, foaming, dying. My field healer had no cure, no treatment. "They will be dead by nightfall, Your Majesty," he said. I refused to accept it. There must be someone, a healer, an herbalist, someone who knows this poison. A scout spoke up. "There is a woman, in the village of Thornwick. They say she can cure anything." "Then bring her," I ordered. They brought her within the hour. I expected someone old, wise, weathered by years of healing work. Instead, they brought me a girl, 20 at most, small, thin, brown hair pulled back in a simple braid. She wore a plain dress, carried a worn leather satchel, and she looked at my dying men without flinching. "Nightshade toxin," she said immediately. "Mixed with something else. Viper venom, I think." "Can you save them?" I demanded. She knelt beside the first man, checking his pulse, his pupils. "Maybe. If you have valerian root, silver leaf, dragon's breath moss." "We have none of those things." She looked up at me, eyes calm, steady. "Then I need to go back to my cottage. These men have 2 hours, maybe 3. I can return in time if I ride fast." "Take my horse," I said. "Shadow will go with you." The words were out before I thought them through. Shadow never left my side. Never. But something told me to send him. She glanced at the massive warhound, then back at me. "He will not hurt me?" "No," I said, though I was not entirely certain. She nodded, stood. "I will return within 2 hours." And she did, riding fast, Shadow running beside her. She worked through the night, mixing compounds, administering treatments. By dawn, all 3 men were breathing steadily, fever broken, alive. I found her by the fire, exhausted, hands stained with herbs. "You saved them," I said. She looked up, tired smile. "That is what healers do. What is your name?" "Alara. Alara Thornwick. You are Omega." Not a question. I could sense it. "Yes," she said simply. "And you live alone? In Thornwick?" "I have a cottage, grow my own herbs. People come when they need healing." "No family?" Something flickered across her face. Not anymore. I should have let her go, paid her, sent her home. Instead, I heard myself say, "Come back with me, to the capital. I need a royal healer, someone with your skill." She blinked, surprised. "Your Majesty, I am not trained for—" "You saved 3 dying men with herbs and knowledge. That is more than any court healer has done in years. She hesitated. I do not belong at court. Neither do I said. But we both serve anyway. A smile tugged at her lips. One condition, she said. Name it. I still treat the villagers, anyone who comes, regardless of rank or coin. Agreed. She nodded. Then I will come. The moment we arrived at the capital 3 days later, I led Alara into the great hall, Shadow beside me, as always. The court was assembled, advisors, nobles, guards. They all turned to look at the small Omega healer I had brought home. I saw their skepticism, their judgment. Who was this nobody to stand in the king's hall? This is Alara Thornwick, I announced. Your new royal healer. Murmurs, whispers. Then Shadow moved. He walked past me, past the guards, straight to Alara, and dropped to the ground at her feet. The hall went silent. Absolute, total, silence. Shadow lay prostrate, massive head on the stone floor, throat exposed. The most dangerous beast in the kingdom, submitting. Alara looked down at him, confused. Then slowly, she knelt, reached out a hand, touched Shadow's head. The beast made a sound I had never heard before. Soft, almost like a whimper. Devotion. My mother's voice echoed in my mind. When the beast bows to the blessed, the kingdom will know peace. I looked at Alara, kneeling on the stone floor, hand gentle on Shadow's head, and I knew she was the one. The prophecy was real, and I had brought her home. The court erupted, advisors shouting, seers weeping, nobles arguing. Alara stood, backing away from Shadow. I do not understand, she said, looking at me. What just happened? I crossed to her, took her arm gently, led her away from the chaos. Shadow followed, pressed against her side. In my private study, I told her everything. The prophecy, the generations of waiting, Shadow's purpose. She listened, face pale. When I finished, she shook her head. That is impossible. I am just a healer. I have no power. No blessing. Shadow disagrees. He is an animal. He is more than that. He was bred for this, raised for this, and he has never bowed to anyone. I knelt beside Shadow, ran my hand over his head. He tolerates me, obeys me, but he does not submit. Not like this. I looked up at her. Whatever you are, whatever power you carry, he recognizes it. Alara was quiet for a long moment. And you? She asked softly. Do you believe I am this chosen one? I stood, met her eyes. I believe Shadow, and I believe you saved 3 dying men with nothing but herbs and knowledge. That is miracle enough for me. The first month Alara settled into the palace. She set up an infirmary, organized the medicine stores, started training apprentices, and she healed. Not with magic, not with miracles, with knowledge, skill, compassion. She treated everyone, noble and servant alike. Within weeks, people were calling her the Blessed Healer. She hated the title. I am not blessed, she told me one evening. I just know plants. We were in the garden, Shadow at her feet as always. He followed her everywhere now, slept outside her door, guarded her constantly. You saved a child yesterday, I said. Lung fever. The court healers had given up. I used elderflower and steam. Basic treatment. The mother is calling it a miracle. The mother is grateful. That does not make it divine. I sat beside her on the bench. You resist this, the prophecy, the title. Why? She was quiet for a long moment. Because I am afraid, she said finally. Of what? Of failing, of being ordinary, of everyone realizing I'm just me. Just you is extraordinary, I said. She looked at me, something vulnerable in her eyes. You do not know me well enough to say that. Then let me, I said, know you better. The second month. The assassin came at midnight. Not for me. For Alara. Shadow killed him before he reached her door. I found her in the corridor, pale, shaking. Shadow between her and the body. Blood on his muzzle. Are you hurt? I demanded. She shook her head. Could not speak. I pulled her into my chambers, away from the blood. Who would want to kill me? She asked. Voice small. Someone who fears the prophecy, I said. I sent for my captain. The body was removed. Investigated. Eastern assassin. Hired by border lords who wanted the war to continue. If the Blessed One died, the prophecy died with her. And the kingdom would remain fractured. You will stay in the royal wing, I told Alara, under constant guard. I cannot hide. You can. You will. Until I end this war. She looked at me, eyes bright with unshed tears. I did not ask for this, she whispered. I know. I just wanted to heal people, and you are more than you know. I knelt in front of her, took her hands. You are giving people hope. They see you. They believe peace is possible. But what if I'm not her? What if Shadow is wrong? He is not wrong, I said firmly. And even if the prophecy is legend, you are still the best healer this kingdom has ever known. She smiled, sad, small. You have too much faith in me. Someone has to, I said. The 3rd month I left to end the war. Not with more violence, with negotiation, treaty, the promise of peace. And I brought Alara with me. She rode beside me, Shadow running alongside. At every border town, she healed. Soldiers, civilians, enemy wounded. She did not ask which side they fought for. She just healed. And people saw. They saw the Omega healer who saved everyone. They saw the beast that bowed only to her. They saw the Alpha King who followed her lead. And slowly, impossibly, the fighting stopped. Border lords came to negotiate. Not because I threatened them, because Alara had healed their sons, their wives, their people. They could not make war on the woman who had saved their families. On the night we signed the final treaty, I found Alara in her tent, Shadow at her feet, as always. It is done, I said. The war is over. She looked up, eyes wet. The prophecy, she whispered, was true, I finished. You brought peace. I just healed people. You showed them mercy, compassion. You made them see each other as human. I knelt in front of her, took her hands. Alara, you are everything the prophecy promised, and more. I do not feel blessed, she said quietly. What do you feel? Tired, grateful, and... She stopped. And what? I prompted gently. In love with you, she whispered. My heart stopped. Alara, I know. I am just a healer. You are a king. But I cannot help how I feel. I cupped her face, gently. I have been in love with you since the night you saved my men. When you rode off with Shadow like you trusted him completely. You have. Shadow recognized you first, but I was not far behind. I kissed her then, soft, deep, perfect. And Shadow, lying at our feet, made that soft sound again. Contentment. 6 months later. We married in the Great Hall, not because of prophecy, because we loved each other. Alara wore a simple gown, crown of wildflowers. Shadow walked beside her down the aisle. The kingdom had peace, real peace, not because of magic or miracles, because of a healer who treated everyone with compassion. That night in our chambers, I asked her, "Do you believe now, that you are the Blessed One?" She looked at Shadow, asleep by the fire. I believe Shadow knew something before anyone else did. And what was that? She turned to me, smiled, that the kingdom needed healing more than fighting, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is show mercy. I pulled her close. I love you, I said. I love you too, my king. Just Kale, I corrected. When we are alone, I am just Kale. All right, just Kale. and as we stood there I thought about the prophecy. When the beast bows to the blessed, the kingdom will know peace. Shadow had bowed. The kingdom had peace. And I had found something I never expected. Love. The end, the fierce warhound, had never submitted to anyone. Until the healer walked into the hall, and he bowed at her feet. In that moment the Alpha King knew. The prophecy was true, and she was the one who would bring peace. Sometimes destiny is recognized not by crowns, but by the simplest act of devotion. What moment touched you? Shadow's bow? The assassination attempt? The healing campaign? The treaty? The love confession? Share your favorite. If this story moved you, like and subscribe for more tales of prophecies fulfilled, beasts who recognize truth, healers who change kingdoms, and love that grows from destiny.